the best time to start up is now, right? Like the Indian market is booming so much. See, the fastest way to profitability at the end of the day, right? Can you make money? Are your audience willing to pay? Do they have deep pockets to pay? Again, the misconception always is like, first I will go raise capital on an idea, then I will build out the product very aram se. That's not the way great products are ever built out. The amount of people that know and the amount of strings that you can pull will just get you there faster.
So a lot of people get stuck while building their first product, right? What advice do you have for them?
So your first product's going to be shabby. Your first product's going to be very ugly. And if you're not ashamed of your product, then what even are you doing? Like, honestly.
Hi, you look like a startup founder.
Actually, I am.
Are you? Can I take a minute of yours?
Sure.
Oh, thanks. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Dipika.
What do you do in Bangalore?
I run a startup called Blursday. It's a branding automation solution.
What do you mean by branding automation?
So branding is basically figuring out your market positioning, your user personas, your branding colors, fonts, language, tone of voice, all of that. That typically takes about like 3 months to figure out. We're literally doing it in less than 2 weeks.
Oh my God. And like, how did you come up with this idea?
So I've been on the branding side of things for a little over like 7.5, 8 years now. Worked with very early stage startups, Unacademy Cred, some of them when they were literally less than 20 employees, 20, 30 employees, and built brands. And that's how this idea sort of came up.
And how old is this startup?
We registered in August. We made a small pivot in Jan, Feb. And here we are. So that's how it.
You're about to complete a year in like 2-3 months.
Yes, close to.
Awesome. So how did you come up with this idea?
So we were, so there are a bunch of things when you're thinking about ideas, right? Absolute scalability of an idea, profitability of the market that you're in. At the end of the day, you want to make money. Your idea can be brilliant, but if you're ahead of its of the market or you're behind the market, you could fail. So when we were evaluating ideas, we laid down about 7 to 10 ideas. Zoomed into about 3 of them, did user research extensively on 3 of them, and then derived at 1.
So what advice do you have for anyone starting up? Like, how should they finalize their business idea?
See, the fastest way to profitability at the end of the day, right? Can you make money? Are your audience willing to pay? Do they have deep pockets to pay? If you get validation from these 2 things, and even at an idea stage, if people are still willing to jump on the bandwagon and say that, hey, let me build this with you, that's a great validation. So those are the ideas that you need to pick. I agree that you can start up for passion, but then you'll have to look at how scalable that passionate idea is also.
And how should a young entrepreneur get his first customer?
Go and talk to people, literally. So when you do your user research, you'll know where your users are. Literally go up to them, go talk to them. There's no better way. Manually get your users, like manually hire users, get them to commit. So when you're meeting the person, in person, get some form of validation. If they're super enthusiastic, probably get a letter of intent signed then and there, and then keep conversations warm. That's literally how we got our first set of customers.
What advice do you have for a 20-year-old who wants to start up but is procrastinating?
Don't. So the best time to start up is now, right? Like the Indian market is booming so much. We saw the 21 run, and then there was a slight dry era in between, but 25 is going to be a crazy year apparently. So in terms of investments, availability of investments, there are so many funds available, there are grants available. There's Nikhil Kamat's fund for young entrepreneurs. Apply to that. I'm sure if your idea is great, you have validation and you're a great founder, you can get funding if that's what's stopping you. If other things are stopping you, then move your ass and get going.
Okay, and how do you get incubated at an accelerator like IIM Bangalore?
So ours was slightly, it took us a little bit of time. So we had to have a validation. We had, again, our pedigree sort of helped because both my co-founder and I come from good tech backgrounds. One thing to do is have super clear insights on what you're pitching, right? Don't get cornered. The moment you get cornered, it's game over for you, right? So have data points, talk numbers. Don't say some users, say 10 users, say 1 user. It's way more insightful than saying some, many. These are not words that anybody appreciates. talk numbers, have your numbers right, know the market, know your tam song like the back of your hand, know your competitors, know how much of the market each competitor has. Like, these numbers are very important, and you need to breathe them. Unless you breathe them, your interviews are really going to tank. So that's how we got through. We had everything sorted out. We did a kick-ass interview, a bunch of kick-ass interviews. And then we crossed our fingers and went back to work, and then we got a good email from them at one point in time.
And is this the same playbook for other funds as well?
Similar. So I know a lot of, like, it depends on the stage, it depends on what the fund is looking for. A lot of funds are looking for some stage of, like, some traction. Some funds are looking at idea stage. So identify. Don't just blindly go and apply to everybody. It's so stupid, right? Know what you're applying to. Read up about who the fund manager is, who the people are behind, your principal VCs, or who the analysts are. What you can also do is, I don't personally like that approach, but I know a lot of founders who just like cold message analysts and then done the reach outs. What you can sort of do is leverage your network. At the end of the day, when you're starting out, your network is literally, and I know it's so cliche, but it's your net worth, right? Like, the amount of people they know and the amount of strings that you can pull will just get you there faster. So that's something that you really need to leverage. Again, there's a way of doing it. Don't just go stupidly like saying, hey, recommend me. Go with insights. Say that I have grown like this much from month one to month two. And I've shown like this much progress. I would really appreciate if you recommend me to this particular fund, and then take it from there. So there's like, use a little bit of strategy. Don't just jump blindly into it at the end of the day, but move. Like, that's at the end of the day the only advice.
So a lot of people get stuck while building their first product, right? What advice do you have for them?
So your first product's going to be shabby. Your first product's going to be very ugly. And if you're not ashamed of your product, then what even are you doing? Like, honestly, like, you've got to be very ashamed. Like, for the longest time, something as small as our website, I was not publishing it because I was so ashamed of it. Till one day I was like, fuck it, let me just like publish it and see. And a lot of people came from there. So it doesn't matter, as long as you're improving, like, you're keeping certain, sprints in place, and you're improving from like time frame to time frame. It just matters that you show your work the fastest. Again, your product is not going to be the prettiest. Your product is not going to be the best. My products have failed on VC demos. And there have been times where I've been like, for 5 minutes, it will be like, hey, please wait till like our system is back up. But that's what people love. They love scrappy founders. They love people who are not ashamed to show their work, but at the same time show promise of improving in the future. So if you're not going to show your work till it's a perfect product, you're going to be very late to the market, and it's not going to matter at the end of it.
How much money do I need to launch my first version? A lot of people think they need a bomb, but as per you, what do you feel?
Literally not much. Cover your compliance and taxation costs. Cover certain hosting costs and all of that stuff. Of course, you're not taking a salary till like, you reach a certain level of, that shouldn't even be in your like bucket list for some time. There's no number because it depends on sector to sector, but build something called a minimum viable product, an MVP. That will tell you how fast you can reach to your profitability, or not even profitability, to your revenue. And if that duration is where you can survive on like just the bare minimum, go ahead and do it. But make sure that you have all of these basics covered.
As a new entrepreneur, how should I think about competition?
You should love them, honestly. Any place that has competition really shows a growing market. See how they've thrived. See how did they build their thesis. Go make friends with them. Yeah? Like, they're not your enemies. There, of course, has to be a very strong differentiator why you exist. So as long as your differentiator is very strong and you're confident about that, you shouldn't be shy to go and like talk to your competition and make friends with them. Get to know them. Use their product. Become to a large extent obsessed with their product, because only then you will get insights about their users that you can then leverage into yours. I know a lot of founders who literally hate their competition. The moment they see a competition coming up, they just go like, we're not going to talk to them, we're going to like cold shoulder them. It doesn't work. You have to confront them. You have to become friends with them. You have to know what's working for them. and freaking replicate it, man. Like, don't reinvent the wheel where they have sort of done things already. That's how I deal with competition.
As a new entrepreneur, right, or as a young entrepreneur, what should you focus on, sales or marketing?
You can't say that you're focusing only on sales and not do marketing. Marketing is an amalgamation of a lot of tasks. The moment you push out the first piece of content, you're doing marketing. So marketing will get you a foot in the door. Sales will close it. You cannot say that I will only do sales, I will not do marketing. Again, very industry specific. A D2C brand, a B2C brand, etc. needs to very much focus on sales first. But to a large extent, marketing builds trust. Why should I take your product as against somebody else? You have nothing, right? You have no credibility, you have no name in the market, you have no testimonials. Why should somebody trust you? And marketing is through how they'll trust you. So again, the misconception is that you need to burn a lot of dollars on marketing. Absolute shit. You can do marketing from zero as well, right? Like you can pick SEO, for example. It's free. How many people have nailed that? Go deep dive into that. Study it at depth. Social media. Figure out how algorithms work. Like hack your way through it. You don't need to spend so much money. The first thing that people jump into is performance marketing. That should be the last thing, right? Your validation comes from how organically can you grow. So all of that is marketing, right? Figure out a good way to brand yourself. Figure out a differentiator. And that sort of comes from understanding your user again. Like when I say user, it doesn't have to be necessarily a person that's using your product. It is somebody with the probability of using it in your target group. Figure out what they like. One thing that we really did, and because I come from a branding background, what makes sense is figure out why they don't adopt certain brands. It can be anything. It can be lifestyle brands. It can be atta. Like why do I buy Ashirwad atta versus Pillsbury atta? Figure out that one bit. When you figure out why somebody is not buying something or choosing something over something else, that's when you'll figure out their mind. And then you can market yourself and make that differentiator. So focus on both. Again, close deals as fast as possible, but marketing is super crucial.
As the 17th employee of Unacademy, what's your one-line take on entrepreneurship or your one-line takeaway for new age entrepreneurs?
I think we're always super aggressive. So my entire career, we've all been like everybody that you hire, you as a person, what can be done tomorrow needs to be done today. There is no like excuse for that. Like there, you will be sitting in the hospital at one point in time and you will still be working. And that actually happened to me last week. So you can't, like you have no excuses. I think one reason why brands like Unacademy, Cred and all have been very successful is because they were super aggressive, very bullish about what they wanted, very focused. There are 2,000 things going on. Like at Unacademy, our biggest competitor was Byju's. If we allowed ourselves to get distracted by the thousands of things that Byju's was doing, we wouldn't have got to where they are today, right? So be super focused, solve one problem, be super aggressive, hire people who are aggressive, hire people who are independent. That comes a little later in the stages. But then in order to hire and identify those people, you've got to be that person yourself. You cannot be lazy and then say, I will hire ambitious people. Nahi chalta aise. So you've got to be focused, ambitious and freaking like bullish about everything.
As a branding specialist, what is the one-line mantra for new age entrepreneurs to brand their business well?
Understand your user. Branding is all about psychometric analysis. Understand the mind of your user personas.
What are the 3 ways to understand the minds of your user personas?
Simple things, right? What makes them actually hate a product? I've realized that works a lot better than asking them 10,000 questions of why they like something. Ask them why they hate something. It's a very simple example you can take, and it doesn't have to be great products. It is, why do I use Google Pay versus a Phone Pay? Very simple. Take an example of something that they use every day. Ask them why they chose that product versus another product, why they hate it so much, why they hate the other one so much. When you figure out that one delta change of why they'll never go back to that competitor, then you figured out 1,000 ways that you can play with their mind on content. And that is the only way that you will actually get through to your users and get your market out.
If I give you 5 lakh rupees right now, what will you do?
Put it back into the product. We're building AI, of course. AI needs a lot of money because we're specifically looking at building custom LLMs. Now that needs a lot of money. I'd put it back into the product, make it today, if we're like on a scale of like 0 to 10 at like a 4, even if I can make it a 4.2 with that 5 lakhs, it's a win because it's still a better experience for my user. So every little penny, push it back into the product till you start hitting revenues that are positive.
Within AI, where do you see an opportunity for young entrepreneurs to build a business in?
So AI is what? Like AI is basically automation of everything, right? Pick any product. Yesterday I met a founder that was building a tire company and he's literally automating tires. Who would have ever thought about that, right? He's like, there are people who are buying cars, it's 14% year-on-year growth. And there are people who are selling tires. And this market is highly decentralized. He's automating it. Like, look for opportunities. Don't look for glamorous opportunities only. Look for opportunities that make money and automate those. If you can take a mundane task and automate it, there you are. You don't have to become the chat GPT of the world. Build layers over it. Use their leverage what is already built to build out something. I know there's a huge like debate going on of like rappers versus actual AI products, but I don't think there's anything wrong with being a rapper. To build up like a proper like language, learning model and all of that, it takes a lot of money and a lot of things. Let those people handle that. You build and solve a problem. As long as you're solving a problem, you're gold.
So what's the first step that you took when you had your business idea?
Bunch of things. Started validating it. First thing I did was when I knew it was an aha moment and I knew that there was some form of like scalability, I went and put out my papers. I quit my job, yes. So during my notice period, I went and researched the hell out of the market, got everybody who I could talk to and asked them every kind of question possible. It didn't matter whether it fit in my questionnaire or not. I made a questionnaire around that later. But just have free flowing conversations and figure out like what if there's a validation. By the time I had quit and started working full time, I had all of this data. I had spoken to like some 350. At that point in time, I was building 4 agencies and freelancers. I had spoken to 350 freelancers and 50 agencies. And I didn't even realize that it was a huge data set. Until I took it to one of the early stage investors and then they said, you've actually spoken to so many people in such little time. And I was like, yeah. And I realized that I only had to speak to 100 of them and I would have been gold, but went and overdid it. But learning again. Figured out patterns. At what point do people start falling into certain personas or certain metrics? And at what point do they form anomalies? And is that anomaly worth building for or do you park it? So form patterns. That's basically the first thing that we did. Simultaneously, while our user research was going on, we started building out putting out feelers throughout a website first thing, right? Like publish a website. Doesn't matter. You're not good at design. Pick a template, publish it. There are so many AI tools that can help you write copy, design. It doesn't matter. You can have a website up and running in 4 hours. Push out a website. Push it out to your friends and ask them to like go and look at what you're building. And if it makes sense, get feedback, get a ton of feedback. Even before we started building our product, we had validation, we had studies, we had so much data. And only then my engineer wrote the first line of code. The first thing is people start building and then they go and like realize that I've built a product that nobody wants. You don't want ever to be in a space like that, right? So do the reverse. Low-hanging fruits, users everywhere, go talk to them. Build your thesis and have some validation before you start writing your code.
So a lot of people struggle with raising funds from investors, right? What are the alternatives to that?
There are plenty of opportunities today. Like if about 10 years ago, of course, there was not much. Today there are so many, right? There are grants. You have competitions. If you are literally a tech founder, go join a hackathon. There are cash prizes. Like scrape through, right? Like get into incubators. Incubators give you like so many credits free. They give you AWS credits. They give you Google for startups. Your GCP credits, all of that stuff. You really don't need to raise capital for the first 6-8 months of your company when you're building things out. You need capital only when you've literally run out of all your resources, and the only way that you can proceed further is through raising some amount of funds. Again, the misconception always is like, first I will go raise capital on an idea, then I will build out the product very aram se. That's not the way great products are ever built out. Great products are built out by scraping things through, not having enough. I think one thing that like at least my team and I really believe in is, I don't know if you've heard of the ramen concept, right? At the end of the day, after you've like finished off all your expenses, etc., you must have enough money for like one can of ramen. That's great. Like that is where you want to reach, right? You don't want to go broke before that. But at the same time, you don't want to have the leverage of so much money that you don't know what to do with it. So, yeah, a ton of options. Go get as many credits as possible. If you run out of credits, write to them. We have written to Google and got more credits. We've written to Amazon and got more. A lot of people don't realize this, but you can literally write to them and say, I'm a startup founder. I need this. This is who I am. And you show progress. They are more than happy to help you out. There are plenty of incubators. There are plenty of accelerators. There are a lot of advisors who can come on board, who can help you out. You don't have to always run to angels for investment. Literally go to angels to test out a product. Go to angels to help them join on board as an advisor. Few months down the line, they may then put in money. So you just need to find ways to build trust. That's all you're doing at the end of the day, right? Like you're building trust. You're saying that, hey, I am capable of getting from 0 to 100. I am in this -1 phase. Support me whatever way, and then you'll get support later. So money is not the end of the world. It is an enabler, but there are a ton of ways to get to it.
If you were restarting in 2024, what mistakes would you avoid?
I would have gone out way more bullish with my users. So our first user, even though our first user came in as an inbound lead, it took us a good like three weeks to close that out. In hindsight, I could have closed it out in less than a week. I would have been way more aggressive on my sales. It took me a lot of time to become, so that's the thing. So I've always been part of very well-funded startups. Now, when you're part of that, you sort of realize that your product, whatever you ship out, is a certain quality. So then that personal bias comes in that you want your product also when you're building to be a certain quality. That's absolutely bullshit. People are very kind, they're very accepting. They just need to know that you will deliver on what you've promised. So I would have been a lot more comfortable sort of pushing things out much earlier. We learned fast, we failed fast, and we learned fast. But I would have failed faster and learned faster. That's about it. Stop procrastinating, start it.
That was the episode, Future Founders. A lot of great founders and entrepreneurs are in line to guide you on your startup journey. Till then, stop procrastinating and start today.